Good morning. Strategy. Yesterday evening we discussed part 6. Should be looking at part 7, and we'll be discussing the export marketing and planning process. Export marketing and planning process. Remember, one of the challenges of many aspiring exporters or manufacturers in Nigeria is being able to secure market abroad. And this was what led to this conversation that we've been having for a while now, basically discussing the export market entry strategies and options that people need to explore in order to be able to secure buyer from abroad. Getting buyer is not as difficult as some think it is. I think it's an issue of mindset, being able to understand exactly what you need to do. Many are grouping in the dark because they don't have the knowledge. And many don't think it's necessary for them to learn, to spend money to learn. And we deem it necessary to make that information available publicly and free of charge. So at the end of the day, we can contribute our own quota to the reduction of the mortality rate of export businesses in Nigeria. The current mortality of export businesses in Nigeria is appalling. It's unacceptable. It's avoidable. And here is what we are doing to contribute our own quota to it. Making information that people need to take informed decision readily available to them, so they can easily take an informed decision. So there won't be reasons or excuse again for them not being able to do what they need to do simply because they don't want to spend money to learn, and mainly because of the way we despise knowledge in our environment and in this part of the world. Now, this morning we'll be looking at the export market. The first thing you do as you try to research into the export market is to identify and measure opportunities. So identifying and measuring opportunity in the market. So you might have to do a preliminary screening, estimating the market potential, and estimating sales potential. So you need to do preliminary screening to estimate the market potential and the sales potential. I'll be opening a particular website now, and the essence of opening this website is to make you see how to practically do what I'm about to talk about. You know, there's information is free, but knowledge is expensive, and the difference is the time you spend acquiring that information. So let me assume that I want to export, let me say, I'm looking for a product, let me say cashew nut. Cashew nut. So we can use cashew nut as a case study to have an idea of how we should identify and measure opportunity. And this should include a preliminary screening, estimating market potential, estimating sales potential, segmenting the market. Estimating market potential, estimating sales potential, and segmenting the market. So what I've done now is to show you the market of cashew nut around the world. I'm going to make that public very soon. I'm trying to, okay? Now, I want you to look at my screen. If you look at my screen, okay? If you look at my screen, you will see cashew nut, fresh or dry trade. These are the exporters of cashew nut in the world. Now, the top exporter of cashew nut in the world is Vietnam. Cashew nut now is not raw cashew nut. It is dried cashew nut or fresh cashew nut without the shell. Vietnam is doing 39%. These are the exporters. India is doing 17%. Tanzania is doing 8.9%. Let's go to Africa. Nigeria is doing 2.1%. This is looking at total cashew nut, actually. Total cashew nut, both raw, that's the fresh, and dry, the processed, together. Nigeria is doing 2.1%. Now, who are the main buyer, the importers? Do you notice something? The reason why you are seeing Vietnam here as a major exporter and Vietnam as a major importer is Vietnam imports raw for themselves. The raw that Vietnam imports is actually used by Vietnam to process, to add to what they have to process and then export it. So they import about 10%. From this 10%, a good chunk of this 10% is actually from Nigeria. Because Vietnam is a major importer from Nigeria. You see these people you are seeing here? These people you are seeing here? These people you are seeing here? They don't buy raw cashew nut. They buy processed cashew nut. Processed cashew nut. When you have removed the shell. Can you see that the United States is importing 23% of cashew nut? Nigeria does not have any space in this market. US imports $1.395 billion of cashew nut. By the way, total cashew nut trade in the world is $6.84 billion. $6.84 billion in the world. In the world. So you can see here countries that import cashew nut. Germany, Netherlands, UAE. I'm looking at the European countries. UK, France. Can you see the quantum of cashew nut they are importing? Now, look at what we are trying to do. Identifying and measuring opportunities. So let's face United States. You have identified that United States is a major importer of processed cashew nut. Processed cashew nut. And then measuring the opportunity. United States is importing about $1.95 billion. So this is giving you an idea of the opportunities, the market potential, the potential for sales in the US. So what you need to do now is to segment that market. Who are those that buy the cashew nuts? So you now have to do a research about the raw cashew nut business in the United States. The raw cashew nut business in the United States. Now, what I'm trying to do is the fact that you can actually do this research yourself. And what I mean by that is the information are there online. The information are there online. What you need to do is then to look for the one that you want as it relates to you. Because at the end of the day, the only way to benefit from this market is to do all the research you need to do. Like I said, that's one work that a number of people don't want to do. To do research, enough research that will help them to be able to know exactly who are those buying my product? What are they using it for? What are the category of people that buy my product? How are they segmented? Or how do I segment them? You know? So you can do a research, a desktop research. Now that we know the country that majorly buy cashew nut, we can then ask ourselves, who are the people that buy it in those countries? Who are the people that buy? Now, you might need to pay sometimes if you don't have such market research online already. If you don't have such market research online already, you might need to pay someone to do it for you. If you have that market already, then make life a lot easier for you. Sorry, if you have that research done already, some are done already and they are free. But what I know for a fact is that if you search online well enough, you will be able to have an idea of the people you should be targeting. If you are doing raw cashew nut, who exactly are those that do that raw cashew nut? Who exactly are those that do that raw cashew nut? So let's look for another market. Let's say we are looking at shea butter, for example. I want to see if I can get shea butter. Okay, I'm trying to load it. Basically, what I'm trying to do is to show you that there are informations, there are resources available online to help you do what you need to do. And if you are not getting that information, the reason why you're not getting it is because you probably are not searching well enough. You probably are not searching well enough. Now, having identified and mentioned the opportunity, the next one is to develop an export marketing strategy. Setting your export objective, planning the market mix, the products you want to export, the price you want to sell it, the channel you want to use to deliver it, and how you intend to promote it. Remember, we have found the market. Having found the market, we have also segmented the market based on the research material we found, based on desktop research we did, based on phone calls that we made. You've segmented the market. Then decide on your objectives. What is your export objective? What do you want to achieve? What market share are you looking at getting? How do you want to be perceived in the market? How much are you looking at earning? What percentage of that market do you want to take over? Set your objective. Be clear on exactly what you want to achieve. Then plan your marketing mix. What is the product? What kind of modification do you need to do on the product? Based on the target market. Like I said, if you're looking at a US market, you know it can't be raw cashew nut, it has to be cashew kernel. At what price are you going to sell? Putting into consideration your competitors. How do you want to deliver it? Are you going by air or going by sea? Going by rail or going by road? How do you want to deliver it? Then, how do you intend to promote it? How do you want to promote it? Having drawn up this plan and adopted the plan, then you do your sales forecast, talking about market making export strategy operational. Having designed your strategy now, stating your objective, determining the target market, segmenting the market, determining the target market, positioning yourself in the market, planning your marketing mix, then now implementing your strategy. What's your sales forecast? What's your sales budget? What are you spending to achieve that sales forecast? What quota of the market do you want to take over? What are your production schedule to make up with your state target? How much inventory do you want to hold? What are the level of labor required to produce this item? What kind of promotion do you want to do? What is the budget for promotion? What is your total finance cost for this project? And what is your profit? Making the export strategy operational. Sales forecast, sales budget, sales quota, sales quota. What percentage of your sales do you want to see going into the export market to take advantage of the opportunity in the export market? Then based on this, what will be your production schedule that you have to work with your production team? How long are you going to hold inventory in the warehouse? What is the labor requirement? Do you need to hire more people because now you are thinking of export because you have been selling locally before? What is the total cost, financial cost? And lastly, how much profit? How much profit? Now, there are barriers you need to know in entering into export market. There are barriers. There are internal controllable barriers. There are foreign non-controllable barriers. There are local non-controllable barriers. So you have internal controllable. You have external non-controllable foreign. You have external non-controllable foreign. External non-controllable local. Let's take them one by one. Number one, internal controllable barriers. These are dimension of export barriers. Different dimension of export barriers. Having a good knowledge of this export barrier is very important because these are barriers you need to surmount. These are barriers you need to overcome. These are barriers you need to scale to be able to get into the export market. If you don't overcome this barrier, if you don't surmount this barrier, they are going to be a barrier, an hindrance, a stoppage, hindering you to take advantage of the export market. So you need to learn and know this barrier. You need to be able to overcome this barrier. And this is very important. This is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Being able to overcome these barriers. But you need to know them. Number one, communication with the foreign unit. Internal controllable barriers. Communication with the foreign unit. You are an export manager in a big company. You need to communicate with your foreign unit. That's the unit that is going to be working with you on this export project. Number two, barrier, lack of export training skill. Communication with foreign units. For a big organization that have local and foreign departments, having a unit in that market or having it locally, but this unit is designed to look for market abroad and it's called foreign unit. Communicating with that unit, working with them. Then lack of export training is a barrier. Lack of export training, experiences and language, trade terms and skill is a big barrier. But it is internal controllable barrier. It is not external non-controllable barrier. It is internal controllable barrier because what the organization needs to do is to spend money to train the staff and get them equipped to get the job done. They need to spend money to train the staff and get them equipped to get the job done. Lack of export training. Lack of export training. Lack of export training is a major barrier. It is causing a lot of businesses not to be able to grow. It is making it difficult for them. Some of them are in the export market, but how much are they doing in the export market? What volume are they doing in the export market? What strategy are they put in place in the export market? What progress are they making in the export market? And nobody are not making progress at all, and it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate, even though they can do much more than they are doing. But they are not able to do as much as they should do because of lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge. And I don't know why it's so difficult for people to want to consider the fact that how do you become a doctor without training? You can just be determined and become a doctor by determination. You cannot become a nurse by determination. You cannot become a pilot by determination. Without any training, you are joking. That's why we have a very high mortality rate in the export business and in the business environment generally in Nigeria. Very high mortality rate. Why? Because things we should hold so dear and do very well, we don't do them very well. We think we can just enjoy that market, get all that it is in that market without training, skill. Skill to know the strategy to adopt. Skill to know the barrier to overcome. How to overcome it. When to start planning for it. Training. The third internal controllable barrier, lack of market information. That is internal controllable barrier. Lack of market information. That is very easy. All you need to do, go for the information. Go for the information. Go for the information. Like I just showed you now a website, atlas.media.mit.edu, one of the best websites I know for market research in the world. Almost every country, many products, different years, percentage, volume are well represented on that website. It's an amazing website. So it's an internal controllable barrier. That is lack of market information. Controlling international activities. Because now you have a new set of activities that you need to get someone to be in charge. Controlling that international activities. Documentation requirements. Documentation requirement. I'm still talking about internal controllable barriers. Internal controllable barriers. Documentation issue. Documentation issue. Pre-export documentation, post-export documentation, shipping document, exchange control document. All the documentation required. Then, arranging transportation and packaging. Because you are transporting to a new environment, a different environment, a new market, and you might also require a new packaging, a different packaging, a new packaging, a different packaging. The market might demand from you a different kind of labeling. The market might demand from you some information you didn't put on your packaging before. The market might demand for you to begin to use a different type of material for your packaging. Providing services. Providing services. Providing services. You might need to render after-sales service in the export market. You might need to render after-sales service in the export market. You might need to render an after-sales service in the export market. You might need to render an after-sales service in the export market. You might need to render an after-sales service in the... And this is very important. Depending on the nature of your product, That is a barrier you need to work towards and overcome. Another internal controllable barrier, higher than domestic risk. Higher risk than domestic risk. The risk you are facing in export is higher than domestic risk. There is an additional level and layer of risk you have to overcome in the export market. There is an additional level and layer of risk you have to overcome in the export market. There is an additional level and layer of risk you need to overcome in the export market. There is an additional layer and level of risk you need to overcome in the export market. This is extremely important, and you need to know this risk, understand this risk, and find a way to overcome them. We'll be looking at export risk and fraud. In this series, one of the series we'll be looking at is export risk and fraud. I'm trying to ensure that it's written down so I don't forget. That's handling export risk and fraud. Handling export risk and frauds. Handling export risk and fraud. Then, now let's move on to the foreign non-controllable dimension of barriers. Number one, foreign government attitude. Some government agencies abroad are very, very, very unfriendly to people trying to enter their market. Foreign government attitudes. Foreign government attitudes. You need to get some documentation, you need to do some registration with them, and they're just not forthcoming. Foreign public attitude. Foreign public, that's the general public now. Negative attitude towards you because you are trying to enter their market. Foreign public attitude. Then trade barriers. These are foreign non-controllable. Foreign non-controllable. Foreign non-controllable barriers. Trade barriers. Trade barriers like quotas, tariff, licenses. Trade barriers like quotas, tariff, licensing. These barriers can hinder you from entering that market. These barriers can hinder you from entering that market. If they have a quota system already, if they have license for you to get that and bring that product in, if they have a tariff, a very high level of tariff that will make you not to be profitable, that will make people not to buy from you because your price is away from the competition. And then the local controllable non-controllable dimension. Financing your sales. Financing your sales. That means you need to raise money to finance. If you're looking at how to raise money for export financing, go check the 20-part series I did on A to Z of export business financing. And we actually have a book on this, A to Z of export business financing. I did a series, about 20 series on this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the current series also might get up to that, because the way we are going, we might get up to that series, because it's a very knowledge-intensive area that people need to know and have a good understanding of, so that it becomes easier for people to enter into the export market. Financing issue is a local, but it's still non-controllable barrier. And the last barrier is lack of assistance. Lack of assistance from home government. Lack of assistance from home government. Let me go over it again. Barrier to entering the export market. Communication with foreign units. That is an internal controllable barrier. Lack of export training. That is an internal controllable barrier. Lack of market information. That is an internal controllable barrier. Lack of, controlling international activity. That is internal controllable barrier. Documentation requirement. That is internal controllable barrier. Arranging transportation and packaging. That is internal controllable barrier. Providing after-sales services. That is internal controllable barrier. Managing higher risk of export, which is higher than domestic risk. That is internal controllable barrier. Then the foreign non-controllable barrier, foreign government attitude, foreign public attitude, trade barriers like tariff, quotas, licensing. Then there is local controllable dimension to barriers. And this includes raising financing, and you can see there the link on A to Z of export business financing. A to Z of export business financing. That's one of the most practical export books you will find in the world, giving you insight on how to present a bankable export finance. And lastly, lack of support from home government. And that is a local, non-controllable barrier. Thank you very much for listening again to me this morning. My name remains Dele Ayimibo. I'll be coming up again in the evening by 6 p.m. and we'll be discussing again understanding export market entry strategy. And by then we'll be looking at part 8. Thank you very much and bye for now. Have a good day at work.